Abd Allah ibn Saba. Letter 2b for Abd Allah ibn Saba Macron. Letter 2b letter 1225 IMYR Macron, sometimes also called ibn Saba Macron. Letter 2b ibn al-SawdāЩ Macron. Letter 2b ibn Wahb or ibn letter 1225 RB was a 7th century figure in Islamic history associated with a group of followers called the Saba'iyya. Letter 2b Iyya. According to Sunni and Shia tradition, Abd Allah ibn Saba was a Yemenite Jew from the Arab Himyar tribe who converted to Islam during Uthman's reign. Because of his exaggerated reverence for Ali, he is traditionally considered as the first of the ghulāt. In accounts collected by Sayf ibn Umar ibn Saba and his followers, the Sabayyā are said to be the ones who enticed the Egyptians against Uthman and were responsible for breaking the near settlement at the Battle of the Camel. Modern historians differed on the historicity of Ibn Saba. Some believe that Abd Allah ibn Saba and Ibn al-SawdāЩ Macron letter 2b should be considered as two separate individuals. Hodgson. Some have described him as semi-legendary or legendary. Taha Hussein, Bernard Lewis, Wilferd Madelung, Leone Caetani, and Shia historians others such as Israel Friedlander, Sabatino Moscati, and Sunni historians affirm his existence. His Jewish origin has also been contested. Some modern historians assert that Sayf ibn Umar fabricated the episode about the killing of Uthman to exonerate the people of Medina from participation in the Caliph's murder, and the movement to support Ali as a successor to Muhammad did not exist in the time of Uthman. With the exception of Taha Hussein, most modern Sunni writers affirm the existence of Ibn Saba. Historicity. According to traditional Sunni and Shia sources, Abd Allah ibn Saba was a Yemenite Jewish convert to Islam. But modern historians differ on the historicity of Ibn Saba. M.G.S. Hodgson doubts that Ibn Saba was a Jew, and suggests that Ibn Saba and Ibn al-Sawdāʾ should be considered as two separate individuals. According to Leone Caetani, Ibn Saba in origin was a purely political supporter of Ali, around whom later generations imagined a religious conspiracy like that of the Abbasids. Taha Hussein and Ali al-Wardi maintain that Ibn Saba was the creation of Umayyad propaganda. However, some historians affirm the existence of Ibn Saba or as follows. Israel Friedlander concludes that Ibn Saba and the Saba'iyya did, in fact, exist. His work has also been attested to by Sabatino Moscati. Linda D. Leone almost also accepts Sayf ibn Umar's accounts and the role of the Saba'iyya at the Battle of the Camel. Concerning Ibn Saba religious beliefs, particularly that of the Saba'iyya, W. Fahrenheit. Tucker noted that they are more complete and better recorded in sources devoted to hagiography. Matthew Musa points out that the Saba'iyya as a ghulāt sect did in fact exist, noting that their views have been seriously considered by both Sunni and Shia hagiographers. Hodgson states that there are contradictions in what religious views is ascribed to him and his followers, but we can assume that he was a founder or a hero of one or more sects called Saba'iyya letter 2b Iyya, which exalted the position of Ali. Ancestry. M.G. South. Hodgson concludes he was most likely not a Jew. W. Fahrenheit. Tucker suggests the possibility that the attribution of Jewish ancestry to Ibn Saba on his paternal side and imputation of black descent on his mother's side were fabricated to discredit his credentials as a Muslim Arab and thus stigmatize all ideas associated with him. Bernard Lewis states that modern critical scholarship cast doubt on his Jewishness. Bernard Lewis, citing the example of Ibn Saba, states that there is tendency in Islamic sources to attribute subversive and extremist doctrines to Jewish origins, conspiracy or instigation. She, Levi de la Vida, also rejects his Jewish origin and maintains that Ibn Saba was an Arab. However, according to Harvard Hirschfeld, Abd Allah ibn Saba was a Jew from Yemen who embraced Islam. Israel Friedlander suggested that he may have been a son of an Ethiopian Falasha woman, which explains why he was called Ibn al-Sawdāʾ Macron letter 2b. W. Fahrenheit. Tucker, after examining the different arguments, concludes that whatever is the case regarding his ethnic identity, it is quite probable that Ibn Saba was a Yemenite, and that he came from a Jewish milieu. ghulāt. Traditionally, Abd Allah ibn Saba letter 2b is considered as the first of the ghulāt. He may have been the first to deny that Ali had died and predicted his return letter 2b, which was considered one form of ghulū. Also, the notion of the absence or occultation gave of an imam seemed to have appeared first among the ghulāt. Heinz Halm records him as a representative of a ghulāt group from the city of Seleucia and al-Madain who came to see Ali in Kufa when Ibn Saba proclaimed divinity. Then Ali denied this angrily and exiled him back to Seleucia. Heinz Halm adds that Islamic writers such as letter 2b in Makalat Saba'iyyah letter 121d Macron di in fact have said that Ibn Saba was the first person who idolized Ali ibn Abi Talib. He preached that letter 2bf Ali was God Allah after letter 2bf Ali's death. He is said to maintain this idea that the devil in letter 2bf Ali's appearance had been murdered and letter 2bf Ali had ascended to heaven and that his return RJ letter 2bf was imminent. Examining his roles in Uthman's killing. According to M.G. South, Hodgson, surer sources than Tabori and Sayf ibn Umar seem to exclude Ibn Sabāʾ letter 2b from playing any major role in the political events that led to Uthman's killing. Wilferd Madelung, after reviewing the accounts of Sayf ibn Umar and the alleged role of Abd Allah ibn Saba in the rebellion against Uthman and the emergence of Shia, asserts few if any modern historians would accept Sayf's legend of Ibn Saba. Taha Hussein asserts that the fabrication of Ibn Saba was done by the enemies of the Shias, that the insertion of a Jewish element would discredit the Shias. He noted that the absence of any record of Ibn Saba being present at the Battle of Siffin suggests that Ibn Saba is a fictitious person. Israel Friedlander, Julius Wilson, and most particularly Leone Caetani, assert that Sayf fabricated the episode about killing of Uthman to exonerate the people of Medina from participation in the caliph's murder, and as Friedlander adds, finding a scapegoat for the troubles surrounding Uthman and any complicity in the strife resulting in the death of third caliph. Tucker asserts that although it may have been the case, there is no concrete evidence supporting this theory. They note that sources older than al-Tabari are silent on Ibn Saba and his role in the agitation against Uthman. They aver that the movement for supporting Ali as heir and testamentary trustee of the Prophet did not exist in the time of Uthman as Ibn Saba had alleged. Therefore, they refuse to accept the authenticity of Ibn Saba's claim that Ali was the heir of Prophet. Caetani noted that a religious conspiracy may have been created around the person of Ibn Sabāʼ letter 2b, even though he may have been just a political supporter of Ali. However, W. Fahrenheit. Tucker notes that the suggestion that Sayf is not reliable is no longer sustainable. Tucker and Landau Tasser point out that although Sayf may have been an unscrupulous hadith collector, this should not detract from his general reliability as a transmitter of historical information akhbari. Tucker also states that even if Sayf's accounts of Ibn Saba was a fabrication, he appears to be only the transmitter of the story and not the ultimate source. He adds that accusations of bias could equally be levelled at other akhbaris contemporary to Sayf, including the Shia historian Abu Mikhnaf. Moreover, Fiat Sezgin, Albert North, and Martin Hines have also challenged Wilson's views and place Sayf on an equal footing with other traditionalists. Linda D. Lauer Farmish accepts Sayf's accounts and the role of the Saba'iyya at the Battle of the Camel. They point out that traditionalists other than Sayf did not give an explanation to why the hostilities broke out after the Nis settlement. Not only Sayf's account is the sole exiting account with an explanation of what happened, it is also logically consistent. Sunni views. According to Tabari, based on traditions collected by Sayf ibn Umar, Ibn Saba was a Yemenite Jew who embraced Islam. During the time of Ali ibn Abi Talib, he introduced a number of concepts that later were ascribed to more extreme factions of Shia Islam, or ghulāt. According to these traditions, the exaltation of Ali, his divine appointment by the Islamic prophet Muhammad as a successor, the concept of occultation, Geba, and return RJ letter 2bf were first formulated and expressed by Ibn Sabāʼ letter 2be and his followers the Saba'iyya letter 2biyya. He and his followers are sometimes said to be the ones who enticed the Egyptians against Uthman on the ground of Ali's special right of succession and participated in further instigation at later conflicts. Historically, Sunni theologians have not only upheld Ibn Saba's existence, but used evidence from the historical works of the Shia in order to support their claims. In Sunni polemics, Ibn Saba plays the same role of seeking to destroy the message of Islam from within by introducing proto-Shiite beliefs as Paul would play in seeking to deliberately corrupt the early teachings of Jesus. Shia views. In traditional Shia sources, Abd Allah ibn Saba is viewed as an extremist Ghuli that was cursed and killed by Ali ibn Abi Talib, first Shia Imam, and cursed by Ali ibn Hussein, fourth Shia Imam, Muhammad al-Baqir, fifth Shia Imam, and Jafar al-Sadiq, sixth Shia Imam. Nevertheless, Ibn Sabāʼ letter 2b became the subject of a tradition used by different Shia factions to both attack and defend extreme Shia groups. According to these traditions, Ali first exiled him for declaring Ali as God and himself as prophet. But when he did not stop from his incorrect belief, Ali killed him and then burned his corpse. Shia scholars such as Abu Muhammad al-Hasan bin Musa al-Nabakati, Abu Amr bin Abdulaziz al-Kashi, al-Hasan bin Ali al-Hili, al-Astra Abadi al-Saduq, and al-Nabakati talked about the stories and narrations of Ibn Saba. Al-Momikani has asserted the existence of Abd Allah ibn Saba. It has narrated different traditions from Shia Imams in the book about the belief of Abd Allah ibn Saba, divinity of Ali and prophethood of himself, and also cursing of him by different Shia Imams. One such example includes After narrating the traditions of Shia imams which say that Abd Allah ibn Saba was a cursed person who believed that Ali is God, about him says, Shia scholars have said that some knowledgeable people in the saying of Kashu refers to the Sunni scholars that wrongly attributed the founding of Shia beliefs to Abd Allah ibn Saba, based on the invented tales of Sayf ibn Umar, about whom Sunni eminent scholars like al-Tahawi, Hodgson, Ibn Habban, and so on have said that was a hadith fabricator, liar, and also atheist. Al-Monkoni from his work Tanki al-Makal Fayoma Rijal 2/183 184. From Sa'd ibn Abd al-Ash'ari al-Qumi, who was speaking of the Saba'iyya in al-Makalot Walfarat p. 20. Regarding to this saying of Sa'd bin Abd al-Ash'ari al-Qumi, Shia scholars say that he did not mention any chain of authorities, nor did he mention from whom or which book he got this story and what his source was. Moreover, al-Ash'ari al-Qumi has narrated many traditions from Sunni authority. Al-Najashidi 450 in his al-Rijal said that al-Ash'ari al-Qumi travelled to many places and was well known for his relation with Sunni historians and heard many stories from them. So, he surely wrote this report from what he heard from Sunnis, which was indeed based on the stories of Sayf ibn Umar. Ni'matullah al-Jazari, another of Shiite famous scholars from his book al-Anwar al-Namaniyya 2/234. The first part of the saying of Ni'matullah al-Jazari is the Shia belief about Abd Allah ibn Saba, which is based on the authentic traditions. But the second part of his saying, i.e., and it is said that he was a Jew who accepted Islam, is about the story which was made by Sayf ibn Umar. Usually, in Islamic books, using from the term Arabic kafiyat lam gila, i.e., it is said, before mentioning a matter by the author implies the belief of the author about the weakness of the saying which is mentioned after it. So, using the term gila by Ni'matullah al-Jazari shows that he believed that the saying is weak. Famous Shia scholar Nabakti writes, Muhammad Ali al-Mu'allim, a present-day Shiite, also affirmed the existence of Abd Allah ibn Saba in his book Abd ibn Sabāʼ, The Unknown Reality. This book was a refutation of those who denied the existence of Abd Allah ibn Saba, given the excuse of false narrations. Modern Shia historians often cite a number of Sunni scholars who considered Sayf ibn Umar as unreliable on matters of prophetic hadith. For example, al-Tahawi 748 AH is quoted from the Book of Sayf in his history, but wrote in al-Magnify al-Dafa that Sayf has two books which have been unanimously abandoned by the scholars. They point out to a number of prominent Sunni scholars concur regarding his narration of hadith. Yahya ibn Mu'in 233 AH wrote, Sayf's narrations are weak and useless. Abu Hatim d. 277 AH wrote, Sayf's hadith is rejected. Ibn Abi Hatim d. 327 AH wrote, scholars have abandoned Sayf's narrations. Ibn Habban d. 354 AH wrote, Sayf attributed fabricated traditions to the good reporters. He was accused of being a heretic and a liar. Ibn al-Sakin d. 353 AH wrote, Sayf is weak. Ibn Uday d. 365 AH wrote about Sayf, he is weak. Some of his narrations are famous, yet the majority of his narrations are disgraceful and not followed. Al-Darqutni d. 385 AH wrote, Sayf is weak. Ibn Abd al-Ḥarb d. 462 AH mentioned it in his writing about al-Kaka. Sayf reported that al-Kaka said, I attended the death of the Prophet Muhammad. Ibn Adibi al-Bor continued, Ibn Abu Hatim said, Sayf is weak, thus what was conveyed of the presence of al-Kaka at the death of the Prophet is rejected. We mention the Sayf's traditions for knowledge only. Firuzabadi d. 817 AH and Talif mention Sayf and some others by saying, they are weak. Ibn Hajar al-Asqalani d. 852 AH wrote after mentioning a tradition, many reporters of this tradition are weak, and the weakest among them is Sayf. Safi al-Dindi 923 AH wrote, Sayf is considered weak, including al-Hakim, Abu Dawud, al-Sayyidi, and al-Nasai. However, some modern historians have pointed out that this view of Sayf should be limited to his hadith scholarship, and thus it does not detract from his general reliability as a transmitter of historical information. But this is not acceptable, because when he used to make many fake traditions, so that logically he used to make fake tales and then narrate them as historical stories. Other sources. Tabari narration on Ibn Saba goes back to Sayf ibn Umar. There are two other historians that mention Ibn Saba accounts which is said to have independent sources. However, it can be shown that their chains of isnad go back to Sayf ibn Umar. There is a favourable Ismaili legend that formed around the figure of Abd Allah ibn Saba. Some early Jewish literature also exists on Ibn Saba. He was largely regarded as an apostate from Judaism.